The Trilogy Podcast with Vin and Scott. 3 movies, 2 men, 1 podcast.
1, 2, 3. She's a real left-winger, 'cause she been down south and held peasants in her arms. She said, I could tell you stories that could make you cry. What about you? I said, me too. I could tell you a story that will make you cry. And she said, I said, I wanna be a singer like Lou Reed. I like Lou Reed. She said, sticking her tongue in my ear. Let's go, let's sit, let's talk. Politics go so good with beer.
The podcast is beginning. I've got some kind of purpose in my life.
You know, Vin, today was the first day that I woke up and I didn't feel sadness.
What are you guys doing over there? My name is Robert. I'm an 8-year-old. Oh, forgive him. I'm Jane. I look over him. And the other 24 personalities inside of me.
It's a lot of people to have inside of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are the Trilogy Podcast, the only podcast in the universe devoted strictly to trilogies. No reboot, no straight to cable. We're bringing you facts, debate, trivia, and more. To hell with the movie if they made 4. That's what we always say, Scotty.
Yes, it is what we always say.
Yes, it is. And all of our alternate personalities here are to illustrate our newest trilogy today.
Yes,
And of course, that's going to be...
the Unbreakable Trilogy, also known as the Eastrail 177 Trilogy.
But for the purposes of what we're doing today, we're going to call it the Unbreakable Trilogy. I think it's best known as the Unbreakable Trilogy. M. Night Shyamalan, and that involves the films Unbreakable, Split, and Glass. And so that's why we're giving you the many different personas of this podcast. All right?
Speaking of different personas, we've got Phil here today
Phil
with us.
is joining us.
Rejoice! If you've had splinters, you are pure. I don't know. Is that how?
right,
I mean, I'm trying to understand the conceit.
The idea is, of course, because this movie involves superheroes and a supernatural element, Phil is going to be joining us for this one. We thought it was a perfect combination.
Thank you. I was so excited because Unbreakable is my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie.
All right.
And much like the Eastrail disaster, the other two just quickly derail.
As always, I am Vin.
And I'm Scott.
So here we are, all right? And we're rocking into a new trilogy. And boys, I am excited. This is going to be a good one.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, we haven't done this kind of trilogy in a while, a director's trilogy. It's really a unique one, too. All right, we've dealt so much in the past with superhero trilogies, but this is a completely different kind of trilogy. It's a superhero trilogy not based on an original source. Scott, what do you always say about this trilogy?
I always said Unbreakable, and yeah, on a larger part, this trilogy, Unbreakable is not a comic book movie, but a movie about comic books.
Right, and I think that's a great way of encapsulating exactly what this is.
Kind of reminds me of I was just thinking of other comic bookish movies that were not based on comic books, and I always think of Darkman is sort of like a superhero movie that's based on nothing.
Nothing, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there was a comic book
I think
for
Sam
Darkman.
Raimi just made it up.
Before we go any further, we should definitely jump into the definition of what kind of trilogy this is. We already alluded to it already, of course.
Right.
But naturally, we need Trilogy Bot. Calm down, Phil,
I'm calm.
because I know you hate Trilogy Bot.
I don't hate him. I just don't understand him.
Well,
Phil, you look like you're going to turn into the Beast right now.
yeah, I
I'm
do.
fine.
I see a vein. Oh, God. Oh, God. Let's just get the Trilogy Bot.
All right.
Unbreakable is a director's trilogy. These are usually declared a trilogy by the director and represent a group of 3 films, unrelated by plot, that are of a common theme or genre, which the director would like to be seen as a trilogy. They are also linked by that director's style, settings, and favorite actors. I'd also like to add that Phil can stick it up his ass.
Trilogy Bot is correct. As rude and disgusting as he is, he really makes a great point. This is a director's trilogy, but it's different than what we've done in the past, because unlike the other director's trilogies we've done, this one does have a thin narrative thread. Doesn't need one, all right? Because for a director's trilogy, basically there just has to be a thematic connection or a stylistic connection. That's what
Right.
we've seen in the past, that spring from the vision or authorship of a director. Ultimately, that thematic connection is going to be, for this trilogy, exceptional humans, the idea of the modern day superhero. So it's not like M. Night had to link them together. And frankly, the Split connection is really a tenuous one. It's just kind of thrown in there at the end, but it didn't have to be there. It could really have just been 3 separate movies about this kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes they use the same actor, sometimes they don't. And most of the time it's the director that determines whether it's a director's trilogy. He says, I'm putting these 3 films together to be a trilogy of how I feel about this one subject matter, right? So I'm not going to go any further. We have a ton of things to unpack here with these films. So you know what? Let's jump right into the plots. Scotty, we'll go through those and then we'll talk more about, what this trilogy means and how it impacts the movie world. So just jump right into it. I think there should be no fanfare. Just go right into it.
Scott, plot. Scott, plot. It's a plot and it's Scott, and you're gonna know not about the plot. It's Scott.
That was upsetting.
I was very unprepared for this.
That's okay.
But that's the name of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you don't always do a song before every single Scott's plots.
I hate to ruin the illusion, everyone, but I do not prepare these songs ahead of time.
I feel like you prepared a couple of them.
1 or 2.
This one you clearly didn't.
No, nothing. Didn't even think about it.
Do it, my friend.
All right. So, of course, this is Scott's Plots. What I do here is I like to break down the plots for you with no character names, very bare bones, no frills descriptions of the movies. So in case you haven't seen them in a while, this kind of gives you a little bit of a refresher. And if you'd never seen the movies and just like the dulcet sounds of our voices, then you can enjoy it as well and not be lost. All right. So we're going to start it all off, of course, with Unbreakable.
2000.
In Philadelphia, a sad man who was a star football player in college survives a horrific train crash that kills everyone else on board. The next day, he receives a note on his car windshield from a brittle-boned comic book expert who believes the sad man may be a superhero.
Every time Samuel L. starts pontificating about comic books, you're like, will you just shut up already? He's like, in comic books, this is what happens. Yeah. And then this is what happens. It's
so that's a rule.
Okay. Most people
this is real life.
Yeah, just read a comic book.
You're the only guy who picked up a fucking comic book in the room.
The comic book expert's bones break very easily, and he believes that the sad man may be his opposite. The sad man dismisses the idea, claiming he was injured in a car accident with his wife that ended his football career, but starts to be convinced when he realizes he's never been sick and can bench press over 350 pounds with the help of his sad son.
I like how he keeps asking his wife, have I ever been sick before? Do you remember me being sick? Shouldn't you know if you've been sick? Don't you have a recollection of your life?
He has a lack of agency and just kind of putters along in his life until he realizes, oh yeah, I wasn't injured in that horrible car accident.
Right.
Like, it wasn't like he actively hit it. I think he just was kind of a mope.
If you've never been sick, that's something you would have noticed already.
You
know what
Absolutely.
I mean? And been like, I never get sick. I must just be so healthy. It's because I keep my body in shape. Like, yeah, I mean, you would explain it away. You wouldn't be like, I'm a superhero, but you'd be like, oh, I never get sick. I'm just lucky, I guess, you know?
Yeah, it's clear from the beginning of this movie that Bruce Willis is a sad character, that there's something missing in his life. They show that right off the bat. He's willing to cheat immediately on the train on his wife with this woman.
Yeah.
He's incomplete as a human being.
Right.
And many of us go through this aspect of our lives where we feel like something's missing.
Like a hole.
I don't know if the logical thing that fills that hole is, I should be fighting crime. But all right, okay.
Hey, that's what I'm going to fill my hole with.
At least M. Night's making it very... All right, Scott.
I think you see this a lot in M. Night Shyamalan movies, too, that there's always, there's a supernatural element, but there's also, a normal family element going on in a lot of these.
Okay.
Signs deals with, the wife's death and stuff and him losing his faith a little bit.
Okay.
This one, he's kind of lost his way. They're getting divorced, but there's also this weird supernatural element that sort of fixes both things.
Well, I think that if we're talking in any way positive about M. Night, it's the fact that he does ground the supernatural themes in his films in a reality that the layman can understand.
The sad son pulls a gun on his sad dad, believing he can't get hurt. But the sad man tells his sad son about when he was a child and nearly drowned.
Are you guys familiar with the famous story with George Reeves, who played Superman on the TV show, where a kid pulled a gun on him because he thought it was really Superman?
Right.
And George Reeves had to talk him down and say, listen, if you shoot me, the bullet will bounce off me and hit someone in the crowd. And he was able to talk the kid down from shooting him with a gun.
Because friends don't shoot each other.
Guess so.
Okay.
I mean, it makes sense.
What do you mean it makes sense?
Friends don't shoot each other.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean,
I hope.
Phil stared down the barrel of a gun many times in his life for different reasons.
They weren't all guns, but they were definitely barrels.
Yeah. Wait.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Get rid of it, please. You can't stare down a barrel of a gun if it's in your mouth.
Phil, we've got many more episodes to do and many places to send you. Put it away.
Yes. The comic book expert theorizes that water is the sad man's weakness, and the sad man admits he faked his injury because his wife hated the sport. The sad man realizes he has a gift for knowing when people have done bad things and goes to a train station looking for criminals. The sad man touches a janitor and has a vision of the janitor committing a home invasion where he murdered a man and is holding his wife and children hostage.
Stop right there. It's kind of a thing that I read where when he was touching different people to find out the bad things they did, I think it's before the train station when he's showing Mr. Glass at the a stadium that he's got this power.
Yeah.
Right. He touches a woman that's holding the hand of her son. And M. Night has confirmed that was actually, he kind of retconned it so that it was actually the Split character and his mother.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he kind of touches him.
She's
And we
like
don't
abusive to the
but
kid,
they don't
right?
really
Yeah.
even show the backstory there. He just kind of, something's going on there. He touches him and you see a quick flash of the two of them and then it moves on to the next thing.
Well, that's the same kind of thing they show in, I think it's Iron Man 3. You see that little kid with the Iron Man mask, and he puts his hand up, and he jumps behind him, and he's like, hey, great job, kid. Like,
oh, yeah.
And since people have gone back now and been like, that's Spider-Man. That's Peter Parker as a little kid. And Marvel's basically like, yeah, okay. Like, obviously we didn't plan it, but yeah, sure, that sounds cool. Yeah, that's now true.
Is there another movie where somebody touches people and he sees their bad deeds?
We're thinking about Ray starring Jamie Foxx when he touches women and knows if they're hot or not.
I don't think that's
touches their wrist and knows if they're chunky or not.
They're in the train station and like he's saying to him, it's like, oh, that crime's not bad enough for me to pursue.
Right.
Well, that crime is bad, but not so bad. Oh, Jesus, this guy's fucking broken into a house.
That train scene is a fucking horror show of people walking by too.
No,
like
now-
hate crime, rape,
Everyone. And then it makes a point of showing that like, but he's hugging his mom and dad. Like, you'd never think that this guy committed a hate crime.
Right.
You'd never think this pretty lady shoplifted. Or what are you going to do? Like, grab him by the wrist and be like, you committed a hate crime many years ago.
Right, yeah.
Hey, did you shoplift 10 years ago? I'm bringing you in.
Also-
And then finally he's like, oh, shit. All right, home invasion.
Now that we're like over the hump of COVID, I don't want to say post-COVID. I could never imagine a man standing in a place touching people now.
Right.
Much less then. I mean, that's like 5 red
Well,
flags.
in both the first and third movie, at no point people are like, "Why do you keep touching me? Why are you bumping into me?
He
Just
literally
walk
walks
around me."
Yeah.
Through a group of construction workers. They would have all punched him at
They're
some
like,
point.
"Why are you hitting? Just go.
Yeah.
There's no one else on the street. Why do you keep bumping into me?"
Yeah. And what's with the raincoat? You're inside.
It's like, it's all right. He's a sad man.
Meanwhile, they've rigged up a whole look for fucking Samuel L. He looks like a purple Frederick Douglass.
Yeah.
But yet Bruce Willis is just wearing a fucking raincoat. Like what?
Frederick Douglass with Prince crossed over.
Crossed
like-
over, and Bruce Willis is just like, yeah, just put me in a raincoat. It's good enough.
The raincoat is a metaphor for his fucking acting career because he is a goddamn mope.
Yeah.
It just hangs out. It's a wet blanket on everything.
And
it
that's
touches.
like, we really want to show the green and the motif. He said, put me in a raincoat. It's fine.
Yeah, respect yourself.
Okay.
Respect yourself, Bruce. Come on.
Remember when I did that song? I'm Bruno, remember? Put me in a raincoat.
I'm Hudson Hawk, baby.
No frills. I'm Bruce Willis.
No frillis Willis. That's what they call me.
The sad man follows the janitor home, kills him, and frees the hostages.
Wait, Phil, did you happen to notice that the bad guy that commits the home invasion looks like Nails from the WWF? Because he's wearing an inmate jumpsuit. He's wearing an inmate jumpsuit. So help me God, folks.
I think it was his janitor's uniform.
But you know
Why
what?
is it orange?
Because
I don't know.
but that's part of M. Night's color motif in this film, right?
Right.
So that every bad guy has a different color as well.
Yeah.
He does it in Sixth Sense, too.
But this visually, Phil knows as a wrestling fan, he looks like 80s wrestler Nails who feuded with The Undertaker. It's exactly who he looks like.
The next morning, the sad man tells his sad son that he was right, and he is a superhero.
Meanwhile, it's only damaging the son further. It looks like the son's ready to kill himself. He's like,
Yeah.
it was me. The son's like, you're making it worse.
Yeah.
You're making it worse.
Right.
You're just fostering a codependent relationship with your son by having him keep a secret for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Later, the sad man attends the comic book expert's comic book exhibition and meets the comic book expert's mother. The sad man then shakes the comic book expert's hand and has a vision revealing that the comic book expert caused the train crash and other quote-unquote accidents looking for a superhero. And that's the first movie.
I mean, I suppose if you're in the position where your limbs break easily and you have nothing else in life, your purpose is to be a villain, and that's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. Like if I got mauled by a gorilla and I lost my face and hands, I would get bionic implants and become a supervillain. Because at that point, I got to wear a metal dome.
Have you thought about this before?
All the
Phil, I don't
time.
know.
And it is sort of a comic booky thing of like the villain creates the hero creates the villain. I know in Batman they talk specifically.
Is that a comic booky thing?
Well, in 89's Batman, that was made up that the Joker killed his parents. Basically, Batman created Joker in that movie as well.
Right.
But one of the theories I have, like Spider-Man, right? Spider-Man was created by what? A thug killing his uncle and also science, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So what does he fight? He fights thugs and he fights scientists all the
Okay,
time. So I
okay.
think like something with your creation ends up being what you're fighting against.
Okay.
That's what they talk about like in Batman, like Batman and Joker are like, you know, yin and yang, right?
Right.
Like they need each other. Like the only reason Joker continues to do that shit is because he finds Batman so fucking interesting. Like he kind of hates
Right.
Batman, but it's like a love-hate.
And
like,
that is such a theme in this trilogy overall, because you're like, why is this fucking brittle-boned guy just give a shit so much? Well, I mean, why does he
Right.
keep pushing this narrative of comic books so much? It's because it's a personal interest in him. He was
Right.
trying to validate himself.
You
know
can't
what
be
I mean?
a supervillain if there's not a superhero.
So-
So meanwhile, you know, that's why Bruce was so sad at the end is he's had this catharsis. He's gotten over his sadness. He's found the thing that completes him and then goes, oh shit, I just played into like your game
Right.
and you killed all these people.
Because presumably he wants to be like, thank you for showing me this thing I've been missing in my life.
Right.
But you did it by murdering a bunch of people,
Right.
which I have to now fight against.
Right.
So
and now I have to carry that with me.
you're right.
Like-
So it's a mind fucker for Bruce at the end. Scott, why don't you take us to the next film?
Yes. And of course, the next film is Split.
2016.
In Philadelphia, a man with split personalities kidnaps 3 girls in order to feed them to one of the personalities who is half man, half animal, and has incredible physical capabilities.
You got Betty Buckley up in that, and she's like, oh, there's no real beast. It's just,
It's in your mind.
it's not. And they're like, the guy's like, I've got many personalities. Trust me, it's another personality.
She accepts that he has 23 personalities,
Yeah, but not 24.
That's crazy.
She's like, listen, I was in Cats, so I know all about personalities, and this isn't one of them. Well,
I mean, hey, 23, thank God none of them are musical theater people. Good Lord.
do any of your personalities sing memory?
It's my 24th personality, Mr. Mephistopheles.
He has no powers. The power is he annoys people.
Yeah.
He upsets them.
He'll meow the whole session.
He makes sewer lids fly.
Makes you name your child Bustopher Jones.
A controlling collection of his personalities, including a British woman, a stern man with OCD, and a 9-year-old boy, believe that the half-man, half-animal personality will protect them and make those who have not suffered suffer. At night, the other personalities email their therapist trying to stop the controlling collection of personalities, and the therapist senses something has happened.
One of the flaws in this movie, which is otherwise pretty good, the information that we glean from the movie, the matrix of the story and the different personalities and coming in and out of the light, and that's who's the overriding personality is interesting. But the actual plot, the chain of events where he's kidnapped these girls, is kind of half-assed.
Yeah, I feel like he set up the initial conceit being this is an escape movie, and then just went left with it being a superhero movie.
Yeah. And what's funny is we don't know at this point that the Beast is going after people that have not felt the pain that he's felt. Like he's attacking people that haven't suffered the way he suffered. So why even pick those girls? It's unclear early on in the movie.
All I know, if I ever get abducted, I'm just going to immediately out the gate be like, listen, a television fell on my head when I was 4.
Meanwhile, the 3 girls attempt to escape, but with no success. The therapist visits the man with split personalities to try and stop him, but she is killed when the man with split personalities becomes the half-man, half-animal personality.
She could have escaped at any time, Instead, she kind of meanders around and
Right.
allows herself to be killed.
Yeah.
As soon as you see that he's kidnapped a woman and she's in the room, run away. Get out.
Yeah.
Stop trying to talk to him.
Yeah.
Like he's...
Well, I mean, I guess to a level you could say it's because it's like her life's work and like she's been supporting him the whole time. Like, you're really fucking this up for me, dude. I'm going to go. I'm the top expert on this shit and you're going to go fucking bananas on me and prove that it doesn't work. Like,
Yeah, good point.
the man with split personalities kills 2 of the kidnapped girls, and the 3rd kidnapped girl shoots him with no effect. But when it is revealed that the 3rd has endured a lifetime of sexual abuse from her uncle, he spares her, as she has already suffered.
The uncle is bad because he destroyed Pam's painting in that episode of The Office.
Oh, right?
So we know what a piece of shit that guy is.
Frank, right?
Right?
Yeah.
So the whole link between her and her abusive uncle is not really, it's not realized kind of till the end.
To me, it makes the movie more interesting, though, to have that angle of like, okay, this girl is like a survivor. Like
She's a survivor, like
she's
he's a survivor. I
Right,
get it.
yeah.
No, I really get it, but I just feel like they could have fleshed out those flashbacks a little earlier and made the connection a little quicker.
Yeah.
Until the end when he looks at her and he's like, "You are also abused.
You're broken.
Well, again, you know, it's M. Night Shyamalan. You don't have all the information until the end of the movie.
Right.
Sort
right.
of thing.
But at that point, you're saying to yourself, all right, the hypothesis of Betty Buckley that like these split personalities like have their own powers. Oh, one of them's a diabetic and this and that. I'm not sure that those powers include climbing the walls. Like your power from the split personality is subverting physics and
Yeah.
I think it pulls from tropes from like Italian horror movies or like giallos where it's like the psychosis is causing him to kill, but also the psychosis is giving him powers. So then now
Yeah.
we're verging into another territory. So this whole movie like starts out as a horror movie built on survival.
Right.
With his adversary being somebody who has trauma. But then it just goes to crazy town in the name of, we later find out, rounding out a trilogy.
No, but Phil, you're making a great point because the movie in no way feels like Unbreakable. It's
No.
not filmed like Unbreakable. It's filmed like a supernatural movie.
Yeah.
So when they tack that shit on at the end, which we'll get to, it feels like it comes out of nowhere because
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like they're connected in any way.
Right. It does. It feels like an afterthought, but supposedly he planned that.
I feel like it does the movie a disservice because a really fun supernatural horror movie would be this guy's a beast. And then you
Yeah.
leave it at that.
No, yeah, it could have been a great standalone. The kidnapped girl is rescued, and the man with split personalities escapes. We then see a scene of the sad man from the first one, now 15 years older, hearing about the story on the news at a diner.
But really, M. Night didn't have to do it because the themes, they match up in their own way.
I really feel like that scene should have been like post-credits.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Where it's
Yes.
like, okay, the movie is the movie, but like also I wanted to throw this in because there is going to be a third movie, but like you can still watch it and it's, I don't know, it's just weird that it's actually a part of the movie. A post-credit scene it doesn't necessarily have to have anything to do with the movie,
It just,
really.
it,
you
it
know?
feels like when you weave a very complicated narrative and then suddenly come back to something out of spite. Bringing in Bruce Willis. Like, you made a fucking great comeback movie for yourself.
Yeah.
Split was like his comeback. Everybody knocks it out of the park, and then you bring in Bruce Willis to do his patented half smirk,
Doddering
and-
old man at the diner talking about like, I know his name, Mr. Glass. Well, fuck off. No one even cares about that.
With his I haven't slept in a week look.
Yeah.
Like,
And what does the zoo thing have to do with it? Did I miss something? This was all going on at a zoo? Isn't
Yeah.
a zoo very well secured and well mapped and
So
secure
you
officers?
think.
How would you hide all this at the zoo?
I mean, he mentions at some point he got it because he's like head of maintenance or something. I
I don't know, Scott. It makes me think of when we were talking about the Trill bit when we were talking about Cobra Kai, where they just easily sneak into a zoo and steal a snake.
Yeah,
Zoos are well secured. You can't just fuck around at the zoo.
Right. 12 Monkeys, another Bruce Willis movie with a zoo involved. randomly.
Seriously, enough with the zoo. All right, Scotty, why don't you tell me a little bit about Glass?
Yes. So this is Glass.
2019.
In Philadelphia, the sad man is now hunting the man with split personalities and tracks him to a warehouse where he has kidnapped more girls. The sad man frees the girls, but he and the man with split personalities are arrested during their fight and brought to a mental hospital, where the comic book expert, now seemingly catatonic, is also imprisoned.
This whole movement over an hour and a half at the mental hospital is ridiculous and terrible.
Yes.
What's her name? Sarah Paulson.
Sarah Paulson.
Is like, I've got you surrounded by water jets that will prevent you from leaving. It's like, how about just don't swallow the water, Bruce Willis?
Yeah.
How about just walk through the water?
I know.
It's not like water itself kills you.
Yeah.
Drowning kills you.
They drain the room, and he's like, coughing up water. Like, why'd you open your mouth?
Yeah, just walk through the water.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the worst way.
It's not like it burns your skin or anything.
It's
Like,
ridiculous.
not like the aliens inside.
There's so many fucking inconsistencies in this single movie. At one point, Sam Jackson is catatonic in a wheelchair. The next scene, he wakes up in his bed. How did he get there? Who knows?
Well, because at that point, we hadn't even seen him in a bed. He seemed
Right.
to just be sitting in a wheelchair in a big empty room.
And then
Yeah,
suddenly he's
right.
in his bed, and
Then
they're
he's in
like,
a
we
bed.
got
Oh,
you.
We've been waiting for a superhero showdown.
Right.
And
Goddamn.
this is what you're giving me?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you never really get it.
I'm sorry. The three of them are lined up during that one scene, and Sarah Paulson's just kind of talking to them, and they're just in a row.
Right.
And
Yeah.
she's talking to them.
You've got three actors two who have history together from the other movies. One who's giving fucking career performance playing 24 different personalities, all distinct.
Yep.
And they don't get shit to do.
don't get to say anything.
Yeah.
They're all begging. They're like, let us act. Let us do something.
Right.
And instead, we get monologues by Sarah motherfucking Paulson.
Which everyone just stop shoving her down my throat, okay?
Enough.
I don't like her.
I don't like her either.
If by everyone you just mean Ryan Murphy.
Yes, Ryan Murphy.
Yeah.
The sad man is kept in a room that can fill with water if he tries to escape, while the man with split personalities is held in a room with flashing lights that trigger him to switch to a different personality.
She's like, these are hypnosis lights. What are you talking about? These are hypnosis lights.
Yeah, what is that?
What the fuck is
Yeah,
that?
Yeah. Like
Oh.
you would think that the machine would, instead of flashing lights, would just constantly say his name over and over again. Anytime,
Right.
like, yeah.
It almost feels like they're using the hypnosis lights so that James McAvoy can constantly just switch into different characters. Boof, hypnosis lights. I'm a little boy. Poof,
Yeah.
hypnosis lights. I'm an Englishman. Poof, hypnosis lights. I'm the woman. All right.
This just sounds like a cutscene from like Aladdin right now.
That's right.
Poof, I'm a preacher. Poof, I'm Forrest Gump. Poof, now I'm a lamb. Poof. A psychologist tells all three of them that they are delusional and that they are not, in fact, superheroes, shaking their beliefs in themselves. The sad son, the comic book expert's mom, and the kidnapped girl all try to convince the psychologist that they are who they say they are, but with no success.
Is that a common thing in comics, guys, where each superhero sort of has a side confederate that
Yeah, kind
is
of.
there to validate their powers? Or
I mean, his son is basically Oracle.
Right.
Like in the Batman
okay,
comics.
okay. The question is, why is Casey even returning? He kidnapped her. It's only by
Right.
sheer luck that she escaped because they have a kinship in feeling pain together.
I guess it's sort of like a Stockholm syndrome sort
Yeah,
of thing.
I guess so.
Which I'm like, I guess I get that.
Yeah, but when you met Kevin, he was like, put a fucking shotgun up to my head and murder me. And
Yeah, I
she's
was
like,
waiting
"Oh."
for when she came back for him to be like, why didn't you kill me like I asked you to?
Yeah.
Like,
Every time we see Kevin, we like him, and he's like, what the fuck am I doing here?
yeah.
And we're all like, we don't know what you're doing here.
Yeah.
Why are you here?
Yeah. What is happening?
Well, you know what? I would disappear too if this is the movie I had to constantly appear in.
He's
Right.
like the Bruce Willis of all the personalities. Like, why am I here? I don't have to be here. I don't look like I have to be here.
Yeah, they're both sleepwalking through the movie.
Yeah.
God damn. The way he tries to push through the door, it looks like he's just mildly annoyed.
Oh, during
yeah.
the escape scene. Every single shot where Bruce Willis has to do something superpower-ish is like a close-up with a stuntman. You know why? Because Bruce Willis is old.
Yeah.
Great. An old man is fighting a guy with brittle bone disorder. Great.
It sounds like a fair fight to me.
Exactly.
One night, the comic book expert sneaks out and visits the man with split personalities, telling him he is going to break them all out. The psychologist discovers the comic book expert left his cell and performs a lobotomy on him. But later, it is revealed that the comic book expert sabotaged the lobotomy machine and escapes with the man with split personalities.
Does he still have a flashback if he's having a fake lobotomy? What's going on there?
That's a good point,
Yeah.
Phil. It's almost like he took the lobotomy machine part out, put a fake lobotomy machine part in, and still had a flashback of himself as a child.
Yeah.
He's like, this is how I felt when I went on a tilt-a-whirl as a kid. What?
The comic book expert tells the sad man that he intends to destroy a chemical lab in a new building in Philadelphia, killing thousands, which prompts the sad man to escape as well and confront them. They fight on the front lawn of the mental hospital, where the sad son reveals that the man with split personalities' father was one of the victims of the train accident that his sad dad survived.
As an audience, we're finally saying to ourselves, all right, these guys are fighting. Fuck yeah.
Well, because we're conditioned after 2 decades worth of comic book movies after.
Well, you
Unbreakable.
want it. Listen.
Well, you want to fight. I
And-
mean,
and-
of
and
course.
The goddamn movies have set it up that there will be a showdown. They're basically saying there will be a showdown between the ultra superhero and the ultra villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so here we are. We're finally there. And you know what? Now there's more talking. Fucking.
yeah, because you got Mr. Glass's mom is like, I think I remember him telling me that there's always a showdown. Like,
The showdown is coming pitted against each other. Well,
Yeah.
just shut up. All right, so that's surprise number 1. The father that would have saved young Kevin killed because
Right.
of the actions of Mr. Glass.
Right.
Surprise number 1. Go ahead, Scott.
learning this, the man with split personalities breaks the comic book expert's bones, killing him, and throws the sad man into a water tank. The kidnapped girl confronts the man with split personalities, bringing out his normal personality, and he is fatally shot by the police.
In his stomach.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, like, I mean, he could have been okay.
Not in the chest, not in the head. Yeah.
Right.
Put a gauze
Put
patch
pressure
on,
on
that.
it. What are you doing?
The Beast could have handled that shot.
Yeah.
Good job.
Should have let him just be the Beast.
Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast. Okay.
All right, Lansbury.
The sad man is then drowned in a puddle, while the psychologist reveals she is part of a secret society that covers up and kills superheroes.
So what was the point?
Surprise number 2.
What was the point of all of this?
Phil,
None.
There was no point.
It's also like, oh, you want a big Marvel movie? Fuck you.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
whole thing.
yeah.
We hate Sarah Paulson through this movie, and you're like, oh, you're a fucking expert in people who have superhero disorder? It
Yeah.
sounds so stupid. So, okay, this justifies how stupid it is, but it's still not worth it.
Right.
I would rather just hate that as a plot point than to think that I was just an idiot for 2.5 movies
Yeah.
believing this interesting
Yes.
idea so that it could be just kind of spit back in my face.
And it kind of ruins the other two movies.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This movie could have been so much better if we knew on the outset that this is what she was trying to do, and we saw them trying to avoid their fate.
It is then revealed that the comic book expert planned the whole thing and streamed the footage online to the sad son, the comic book expert's mom, and the kidnapped girl, who upload the footage revealing superheroes are real.
As if once this is revealed on the internet, it'll change the world. No one will believe it.
This movie operates on the assumption that TikTok never existed.
Yeah, the like viral videos that everyone just believes everything they see, and oh my god, it's not. No one will believe it.
Right.
They won't care, and they certainly won't look at it simultaneously in a train station and be like, "Holy shit, the world is changing."
Yeah.
Also, that's a very sparsely populated train station.
really is.
For them to judge if people are looking at their fucking phones.
Right.
Of course they are. They're in a train station.
Meanwhile, they're holding the hand of Mr. Glass's mother like he didn't really kill many, many people.
Yeah.
Like
you
he-
raised a murderer and we're proud of him.
Yeah, and you're caressing my hand
Yeah.
as we watch this together.
Yes, but
What?
The guy who basically killed the other two.
Yeah.
By bringing them into the situation.
Exactly. Selfishly so that he could validate his own existence.
Right.
Scott, in our world of looking at many, many trilogies, I've never seen an example of a trilogy failing so amazingly with a third movie.
And really, the third movie is what makes it a trilogy.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
What they should have done, a much cooler setup for this, right, is if Bruce Willis is hunting this guy and he can't catch him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he has to go to Glass like he's fucking Hannibal Lecter.
Yes.
And be like, we need to work together to
I
bring
love
this
it.
guy down.
Thank you.
You know?
It took one.
Much better.
I agree.
And
I
even
agree.
if there is a twist that, like, aha, Glass wanted you to do this the whole time, and even if you threw the thing in that he, kind of created the other guy too, that's fine. But, like,
Yep.
you wouldn't have this bullshit Sarah Paulson secret society.
You know what? You guys are both superhero connoisseurs, and I'm a pop cultural guy. And we all know that sometimes the villain and the hero have to get together to work against a third party, which is kind of the big threat to everyone.
Maximum Carnage is a great series in Spider-Man where fucking Venom and Spider-Man have to work together to take down Carnage.
He-Man and Skeletor have to work together to take down the evil horde. You know what I'm
Even
saying?
in fucking Cobra Kai that we've been watching, like Johnny and Daniel are finally getting together now because they have to take down Kreese.
Right.
It's
I
classic.
mean, even Professor Xavier and Magneto are known to team up.
It's an insult, I think. I think it's an insult not only to moviegoers, it's an insult to people that appreciate comic book movies and the idea that this was an original take on comic book movies.
right.
So, all right. Those are the plots for the first 3 films. Ugh. And now I think it is important that we get into the details of how these movies were made.
The Vinformation.
I think that's a perfect time for our new Vinformation tune.
Hit it, Billy.
All right. Minaj Neliyahu Shyamalan. That's his real name. He goes by M. Night.
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan came into prominence in the late 90s. He's originally from Pennsylvania.
What? He's from Pennsylvania?
Penn Valley, Pennsylvania.
What? So like near like Philadelphia? I could have never guessed. All of his movies take place in Philadelphia.
I know.
That's what
we
I'm,
got the joke.
Yeah.
Let me move on. All right. M. Night came about in the late 90s, of course, with The Sixth Sense, which was the highest grossing thriller of all time.
Yeah.
It's since been passed by It.
Oh.
It. But I feel like M. Night is one of the last of a group of directors where his name kind of sells a movie and tells you what kind of a movie you're walking into.
Right.
This was more prominent in the 70s and 80s, but as we go into the 90s, once you get past Tarantino, how many other directors can you say that about? All right, you've got M. Night Shyamalan. You guys tell me, what other directors can sell a film nowadays?
Wes Anderson.
Christopher Nolan.
You know, we mostly sell movies on the strength of the actors in it or the subject matter. M. Night is a very specific type of director. You know you're going to see a supernatural film. You know you're going to see a film that has some kind of a twisty ending.
And probably these days will be bad.
He wrote a couple of screenplays. Did you know that he was the screenwriter for Stuart Little? Did you know
Wow.
that he was one of the screenwriters for She's All That, starring Freddie Prinze?
Wow.
The twist being she was hot all along.
I did not see that coming.
He was actually linked as well to the fourth Indiana Jones movie. There was talk that he was going to be
Right,
the one
yeah, I
that
remember that at the
They
time.
pitched a million drafts, but George
Yeah.
Lucas really wanted aliens.
he was going to do a Harry Potter movie. He was going to do Sorcerer's Stone. And he was also going to be one of the directors of Life of Pi, too.
And I like pie. You like pie too?
I'd like to talk now about his body of work. And in doing so, guys, I think I'd like to reveal the twist of every single movie.
Let's
because,
do it.
Because
Let's do
fuck
it.
M. Night Shyamalan. Sixth Sense.
Spoiler alert. Bruce Willis was dead the whole time.
Yes, indeed.
M. Night Shyamalan, The Village, Unbreakable, Sixth Sense.
I see dead people.
Okay.
He was nominated for that film for Best Picture, Best Director, and it became a pop cultural phenomenon. The idea of I see dead people set a standard that he's never been able to live up to his entire career, right?
Right.
I mean, because of how gigantic it was.
Yeah.
The difference is, though, all the other named directors, your Scorseses, your Coppolas, your Oliver Stones, these people, it's not like they then had a string of shitty movies.
Yeah.
They may not have outdone their previous big hits, but they're giving you quality after quality. I don't think M. Night is doing that.
Right.
As evidenced by the next movie. Well, Unbreakable.
Sure.
All right. And then Signs. Spoiler alert.
They're allergic to water?
That's right, Phil. The aliens landed on a planet made up of water, but they're allergic to water.
Right.
Next movie, The Village. Spoiler alert.
They're not in a village. They're in, you'll never guess, Philadelphia.
What a shitty movie.
He's making a movie every 2 years. Lady in the Water in 2006.
What's the twist on that
See,
one?
there's not really a twist with that. It's just kind of a weird movie overall.
Okay. The next one is The Happening.
The twist is Mark Wahlberg is a terrible actor.
I don't know that that's a twist.
Yeah.
Yo, Trees, what are you doing?
I hear you whispering. Planning on stealing something?
No, ma'am, we're not.
Plan on murdering me in my sleep?
What? No.
2 years later, we've got The Last Airbender.
It was an anime.
Anime.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, well, it was put on Nickelodeon, and I think they have since made Korra
Yeah.
is like a continuation
It's all
of
on
it.
Netflix if you'd like to watch, because apparently that's the thing that people in their 30s do now.
Next movie, After Earth, starring Will Smith and Jaden Smith.
Isn't that about Scientology?
The reality is, between The Village and After Earth, okay, there's like a 6-movie span there where every movie is kind of terrible.
Yeah.
All got terrible reviews. A 10-year span from roughly 2004 to 2014.
Yeah.
Where he just became a joke. Then we get to 2015 and we get The Visit. You guys tell me anything about that?
Found footage, probably the tail end of the found footage craze.
Okay.
That's
good
a found
film.
footage movie?
It is.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then, of course, we get Split. After that, we get Glass. And then upcoming, he's got a movie called Old. It's like an
That-
island where people are just like old or something.
You're going to hate
Sounds
me
so
for this,
stupid.
but it looks like a Doctor Who episode minus the Doctor.
Hello, peasants. What's this? Attack of the old people? Oh, that's ridiculous.
And that's basically his deal. As much as we hate those movies in the middle, globally, every single movie he's ever made has made money. Not necessarily domestically, not necessarily in this country, but globally, they've all made money. So much as I don't like M. Night, say what you will, the guy is making movies, or his name is responsible for people going to see films.
Well, that's what was interesting. After Earth, when it came out, I had no idea he directed it because they didn't put his name anywhere on After Earth.
Okay.
They let Will Smith's name carry it, and that he's in it with his son. So it was like, oh. And that was before Jaden Smith was a complete fucking moron and tweeting nonsense things.
50% of human DNA is shared with a banana.
Unbelievable.
Guys, the British Film Institute said this about M. Night. All right, and you tell me whether you agree or how you feel about it. One of his challenges is presenting works that ask for childlike wonder and contemplation in a pop culture that's now moved towards short attention spans with snark and testosterone-fueled, arrested adolescents.
I don't think there's any childlike wonder or introspection or anything redeemable about Glass. I feel like he just is insulting people and their love of superhero movies with Glass.
Okay.
Right. You can have a childlike wonder without being treated like a fucking child.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, don't treat the audience like they're morons.
It's this, it's this aha idea. The idea that he knows more than we know.
Right.
I feel like is obnoxious. Oh, I fooled you. Well, why did I watch your fucking movie for 2 hours?
Right.
I don't want to feel like an idiot.
He puts himself where he has to, like, really try hard to stick the landing.
Yeah.
And when you do that, like, a lot of times it's going to be disappointing or unsatisfying.
All right. So that is M. Night Shyamalan, guys. Let's talk a little bit about each of these films. Okay, starting with Unbreakable. M. Night saw it as a deconstruction of the genre, that it was a superhero film that was grounded in reality, and that it didn't have an original comic source.
Right.
And he decided on a movie based on an origin story. He wanted an origin story, and that's kind of what he went with. The movie did okay money-wise. It wasn't nearly as big as The Sixth Sense.
Right.
$75 million is what it was made for. It did $248 million globally, but domestically, only just over $100 million.
Also, the marketing for the movie told no one about the superhero
That's
twist.
exactly right, Phil. The movie they didn't want to market the movie as a superhero movie in any way. At the time, that was a niche genre. There was no Avengers, no Marvel at that period of time. It was considered very niche. And I think you're going to thank Batman and Robin for that, actually.
Yeah, they killed the superhero genre with that shit.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
It's funny because in that same year, X-Men came out, and that's kind of where it really begins again.
Disney did not want to market this in any way as a superhero film. They instead wanted to market it as a supernatural film in hopes of capturing the same acclaim that Sixth Sense did. And so that's what they did. Despite the fact that the movie begins with information about comic books. I mean, in the first 5 seconds, you're reading comic book statistics.
That opening just reminded me of the Runaway Train video for some reason. Like, when they're giving the statistics of 100,000 kids run away.
Runaway train, never going back. Wrong way on a one-way track. Seems like I should be getting somewhere. Somehow neither here nor there.
It's become a cult film later on. People love this movie now. When they look back and they think about, in the context of the superhero world that we live in now, this is considered to be, a landmark film.
The DVD was a huge seller.
Yeah.
It had so many special features and such a wide, deep explanation from M. Night about why he did it and what went into it.
Right. There are so many motifs in this film.
Yeah.
Okay? We're talking about colors in a big way. Samuel L. Jackson is defined by the color purple.
Right.
Which a lot of it was his suggestion using the color purple. He's got a fascination with the color purple. In Star Wars, he begged Lucas to give him a purple lightsaber.
Yeah.
Good guys are green and blue. Bad guys are red. That's just the way it works.
No purple left?
You might get purple.
Bruce Willis is connected to the color green throughout the film.
Yeah.
There's a lot of allusions to reflections and the idea of glass. A lot of shots are shot through a mirror image effect.
Or even upside down shots you see a lot.
And you get the idea of comic book panels. So many of the shots are shot through portals or framed through doorways, something like that. You see it so much.
Yeah.
I wrote a whole list for the first movie. There's a huge list.
Yeah.
But you really see it. It's laden with motifs. It's like this is an original superhero film. And I respect that.
Yeah. This is my favorite Shyamalan movie. Is
mine too.
Unbreakable.
Me too. What if Superman didn't know that he was Superman.
Right.
That's basically what we're talking about here, which is a really cool idea. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah, I know. You can do all these amazing things, and sometimes you think that you will just go bust unless you can tell people about it, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, every time I get the football, I can make a touchdown.
That's for sure.
Every time.
Yeah.
I mean, is it showing off and somebody's doing the things he's capable of doing? Is
No.
a bird showing off when it flies?
No.
All right, so then we get to Split. Originally, that Kevin character was part of early Unbreakable drafts, and he took it out because there was, I guess he said there was balancing issues. The idea of too many
Right.
characters. They keep using the expression stealth sequel. This is the first stealth sequel.
Right.
And that we don't know it's a sequel until the last shot of the movie with Bruce Willis.
Right.
But again, they decide to market it incorrectly in that they don't market it as a sequel.
It's funny because it's almost like they're trying this now with DC. They did that Joker movie. It's an origin story for a villain. You know what I
Right.
mean? That's kind of what he was doing with Split, I think.
They say that Split was the first villain origin story ever made.
M. Night is doing shit with superheroes that people don't do
Yeah.
for years.
But it was secretive. M. Night Shyamalan made an agreement with Disney that they could use the Bruce Willis character at the end of Split with the idea that if he made a third movie, Disney would be involved. And that's kind of how it worked out. Buena Vista wound up distributing the third film. Very strong reviews for Split. A lot of people say that's the movie that brought him back after that run of shit movies that he did.
Right.
It's twofold. See, the movie he did in 2015 brought him back in the eyes of like cult film buffs and like nerds. This movie kind of brought him back into the mainstream.
I mean, it was the most profitable movie of 2017. It was made for $9 million and wound up making $278 million globally. That's a huge number.
$9 million?
$9 million. It was poorly received in the mental health community because they said that it stigmatized dissociative identity disorder.
No point do I believe that anyone that has this disorder will grow muscles.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right, Phil.
It's fantastical.
In that the superhero element of it makes it obviously a work of art,
Right.
and not
Right.
representative of a community.
In the history of werewolfism, history points to it just being a mentally ill guy covered in dirt eating sheep.
Okay.
Like, I mean, not that he had strength or anything, but he just went crazy, and everybody was like, a wolf, because they didn't know any better. I mean, they see an
Right.
eclipse and they shit themselves then. So,
Ultimately, it's a sampling of a certain community and not representative of the entire community.
No.
We can
Yeah,
say that about every single bad guy in the history of every movie and be like, oh, because that bad guy had a terrible home life, oh, you think everyone that's had a terrible home life will be a killer or evil or whatever? It's a movie.
If I have offended anyone, and I'm sure I have, I don't apologize.
The success of this movie led to Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson being interested in making this a trilogy.
wait, so Bruce Willis wasn't interested in making it a trilogy when they just captured him on a day when he was in a diner? 'Cause that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
I love this guy. Yeah. He sent me the script. He didn't tell me anything about it. I said, I'll do it.
Wait. So it's clear you didn't read the script. You just got it.
Absolutely not.
You set it into a shredder and said, it, I'm doing it.
So we get to Glass. It was made for $20 million, and worldwide it did $247, but domestically it did only about $111 million. It was still a success. They used a lot of the deleted footage from Unbreakable to show those flashbacks.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool.
Got mixed reviews, mostly because of the things we've talked about here, the ending. It was initially featured at CinemaCon. Phil, you were there, weren't you?
No, well, that's a big con.
They
for you
were
to
a
say that.
con artist.
Now, Beth, don't con me.
M. Night Shyamalan calls it the first fully grounded comic book movie.
Fuck you.
M. Night has said he does not want to create a cinematic universe. There will be no further films.
So he made a movie that was basically
Clearly.
like, fuck you. He
Yeah.
could have just made a movie.
That's him saying, I know this didn't work.
Yeah.
And I can't go any further with it.
And to ensure that no one ever does, I'll kill all the characters. Yeah.
Like when you order a bad sandwich at 3 a.m., except instead of enjoying it yourself, you order it as a point to yourself to show you that you shouldn't order a bad sandwich at 3 a.m. I mean, I've never done that. I've always enjoyed my 3
I
a.m.
feel like
sandwich.
I'm looking at some mayo on your mustache right now.
That's the creamy spinach dip that you made me try.
All right.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
When we talk about the actors that have been in all three of these movies, I just went with the three kind of principles of these films.
Right.
The only one that's been in that was in all three was Bruce.
Yeah.
All right. So, but let's talk a little bit about Bruce, Samuel L., and James McAvoy. These are the principles. Okay. Bruce Willis is a trilogy superstar so many times over. Scott, you and I have talked Bruce Willis so many times.
Yeah.
Look Who's Talking, Gilliam's Americana trilogy.
Yep.
Unbreakable, The Expendables, which we haven't gotten to yet, the Oceans trilogy, where he had a cameo,
Yep.
and Rugrats, where he did a voice.
Yes.
All right, that's Bruce Willis for you. I would suggest to you that when it comes to Bruce Willis, for every one movie he does 5 or 6 bad movies.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so you've got like Die Hard, but then you've got The Bonfire of the Vanities,
Oh,
Mortal
yeah.
Thoughts, Hudson Hawk, Pulp Fiction, but surrounding it you've got Striking Distance, North, The Color of Night, Nobody's Fool. Oh, wait a second, 12 Monkeys is good? That's fine, because around it you've got The Jackal, Mercury Rising, The Siege. He's done so many movies, he kind of dilutes himself, right?
Yeah.
When I was looking at Bruce Willis's filmography, do you have any idea how many straight-to-video or straight-to-streaming movies this guy has done in the last 10 years?
I'm going to go with 20.
So I guess my question is, guys, how is it that Bruce Willis has fallen off so greatly while a contemporary of his, Samuel L. Jackson, has maintained his stature, his popularity?
I have a theory. Samuel L. Jackson, his career took off late in life, where he had a better sense of self and was sober at that point, and also was somebody that was more discerning and has a more clear presence. Like, I think he holds himself to a certain standard that Bruce Willis... I think he's just too fucking grumpy to do.
I think it's because Samuel Jackson still enjoys what he does.
Yeah,
and
okay.
it seems to me Bruce Willis does not enjoy doing this anymore.
More of a chore for him.
Yeah.
Did you know that some actors turn down roles? Any plans to reboot the Grumpy Old Men franchise?
So then that brings us to the other, lead in this trilogy, Samuel L., who is the biggest trilogy superstar in the history of everything we've done. Samuel L. has been in Jurassic Park, the Unbreakable trilogy, the Star Wars prequel, the Star Wars sequel, Triple X trilogy, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, and at the end of this year, Spider-Man. So rather than just kind of beat around the bush, talk about him forever, I would like to know from each of you guys, if I took away all the Avengers movies, took away all the Star Wars movies, took away all the Quentin Tarantino movies, and took away Goodfellas, what is your favorite film of his?
I would go with 187.
Oh.
I really liked that movie. When I saw it too young, but it had a profound effect on me for a while. I mean, that and A Time to Kill.
I quite like The Caveman's Valentine.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Where, of course, he plays a homeless man.
Homeless guy, yeah.
Who, again, has mental illness.
Okay.
I like it.
But I think it's actually a really interesting movie. I mean, it's a little bit cheesy at points, but I think he does a good job in it, and he's well cast in it. And, moments are funny to me, but, it's a very rewatchable movie.
Scott, you must know that I'm a big Snakes on a Plane guy. So I'm going to go with Snakes on a Plane. But it lived up to everything that I hoped it would be and wanted it to be. What's funny is these guys have been in a lot of movies together as well. All right? They were in this trilogy together, Unbreakable and Glass, but they were also together in Loaded Weapon 1.
Little cameo by Bruce Willis
cameo,
there.
Pulp Fiction, of course. They did not interact. And Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yes.
Why do they work together well?
I think they're both kind of no bullshit personality types,
Okay,
kind of
okay.
like they're both guys with attitude. So I
Yeah,
think they work
good.
well, and they butt heads with each other.
At the same time, there's a contrast, like, tonally with They're No Bullshit. Like, the way that they banter in Die Hard is awesome.
All right, 7 guys with 7 wives.
Shut up, McClane. I'm good at this.
7 guys with 7 wives.
Shut the fuck up, McClane. He said 7 wives with 7 sacks. 7 times 7 is 49. Now tell me the rest.
Oh, your sack with 7
Weren't
stacks
you
with
listening?
7. Yeah, I was listening to hear
The
every
fuck
fucking
is
thing.
wrong with you?
Well, besides having a bad fucking hangover for one thing.
All right.
All right, and the last guy that's worth mentioning, of course, for all three of these movies is James McAvoy, Scottish actor. He's a trilogy superstar. He's in the Chronicles of Narnia trilogy, but I think a lot of people first saw him in The Last King of Scotland, where he acted against Forrest Whitaker,
Right.
who won the Academy Award for Best Actor that year. In addition, he was in Atonement, which was a huge movie in 2007, was in Wanted in 2008, Scott, which Creed mentioned in that episode of The
Yes.
Office.
Okay, geniuses, how would you do it?
Curve the bullet, like in my favorite James McAvoy film, Wanted.
He played Nomeo in Romeo and Juliet.
Ooh, that's a piece of shit.
And, of course, he played the young Charles Xavier in the X-Men 4, 5, 6, and 7th movies.
Oh, actually, I can't feel my legs. I can't feel my legs. I can't feel my legs.
All All right, so let's talk about the details and foibles of Unbreakable.
I believe comics are our last link to an ancient way of passing on history. The Egyptians drew on walls. Countries all over the world still pass on knowledge through pictorial forms. I believe comics are a form of history that someone somewhere felt or experienced. Then, of course, those experiences and that history got chewed up in the commercial machine, got jazzed up, made titillating cartoon for the sale rack.
My favorite part of this movie, and in college I used to talk about this first scene so much.
It's so good.
And I would just reenact the entire thing. They're like, did you drop this baby? What? Did you drop this baby? Jesus Christ, no.
Why did I start to tear up when I saw this first scene?
Yeah, right?
Well, you know Iman Walker mostly...
It's like watching Up, you know? You're crying within the first couple of minutes.
I don't know that I'd compare it to Up.
It appears that your baby has sustained some fractures while inside your uterus. His arms and his legs are broken.
Well, see you tomorrow, kid. Bye.
Iman Walker, I think we all know him best, the guy who plays the doctor. He's Saeed in Oz. And, you know, while we're talking about actors that were in this film, it's probably important that we just mention Robin Wright real fast.
Yeah.
All right, she plays Bruce Willis's wife. We know her best from Princess Bride.
Yeah, yep.
Forrest Gump, Wonder Woman, and the Justice League.
That's right. Yeah,
talking
she's
about
also in Wonder
superheroes.
Woman.
I'm just going to say I don't really like Robin Wright.
She's actually really good in House of Cards.
Okay.
Like, I feel like there are actors that like I didn't like at a certain point, and I think they evolve and they get better.
Okay.
And they sort of like learn their craft a little bit more. And I feel like she's somebody now who I think she's much better now than she used to be.
I just dislike her so much in Forrest Gump, but I think that's more of a mechanism of the movie, more so than her.
I had the weirdest
She's
dream
kind of a
one
shitty
time.
person in
She
that
is a horrible person. I had the weirdest dream one time that I was just we just hugged,
and my sheets were all wet.
I know. It was more of like a warmth.
Maybe it was because she had nowhere else to go.
So Bruce Willis survives that crash.
Yeah.
And the first thing he does when he goes home is he's eating some cereal. You better eat a steak.
Because he's still sad.
Have a burger. I'm just saying.
Today was the first day I woke up and wasn't sad because I had Count Chocula.
Also, the guilt that you could see in his face as he leaves the hospital, and all of these family members of the deceased are staring at him. Just him.
Right.
In his green shirt.
It's a great scene, actually, when he's like, you know, the doctor is overlapping it, talking about you are the only survivor. You don't have a scratch on you. And while he's doing that, all these like expectant faces of these people waiting to see their loved one come out.
Yeah.
And nobody else is coming.
It's cool.
The city has seen its share of disasters. I watched the aftermath of that plane crash. I watched the carnage of the hotel fire. I watched the news waiting to hear a very specific combination of words. But they never came. Then one day I saw a news story about a train accident, and I heard them. There is a sole survivor, and he is miraculously unharmed.
The first scene where they meet up with Mr. Glass at his comic shop with the kid, and he tells you, like, we're leaving. Joseph, throw that water in the trash. Like, throw the water in the trash? What? This just strikes me as odd every time I see it.
Was he poisoning the water?
Yeah,
He just
throw
hates
that
water.
in the trash.
I mean, maybe it speaks to his
That's true.
his fear of water.
That's not constantly with water for some reason.
Get that water away from me.
That's water.
Yeah.
You know, it'll kill an alien.
You put it in the trash. Don't leave it lying around.
You're too old to still be doing this. You take a glass of water and you finish it. Now, what's wrong with this one?
It has dust in it.
Every time Glass in this movie is talking about like the history of comics, it's like hieroglyphics. You know, it's the history of the world. Well, that's before, you know, writing was invented.
Right.
Once they came up with languages, that's how they started doing history.
Right.
It's not like, oh, pictures have survived all the way down to comics. No, when language was invented, they realized we can describe things better than a bunch of pictures.
Right.
So
yeah. It's a little more specific.
Yeah, you sound like an idiot.
Yeah.
Is what I mean.
To be fair, they didn't stop drawing.
No.
But seriously, like the Egyptians used hieroglyphics because that's all they had. That was their written.
That was language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like they were like pictures spell it out better than anything. And you know what? The next obvious
I love rebuses.
Yeah. And the next obvious connection is the comic books from the 40s.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot happened between that time.
Yeah. You're kind of cherry picking history right now.
Symbols are a language that can help us understand our past. As the saying goes, a picture says 1,000 words, but which words?
The cinematography of it is interesting because he shoots very wide and anamorphic, but it's vaguely handheld, and the depth of field is somewhat shallow. Like,
I think that goes along with the whole paneling effect, the idea that he's trying to make it look like comic panels. And you see that throughout the entire movie, whether it be the conversation on the train that's framed through the two chairs in the beginning, or whether it be...
we have that little girl judging him for checking out that girl's midriff.
Or I was thinking, too, through the bars at the stadium, there's a lot of shots, too.
Right.
The upside-down effect, when glass falls down, you see his upside-down vision. It's
Even
cool.
the kid, he's watching the TV when he sees about the train crash. He's hanging off the couch upside down.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This reminds me of the scene that he has with the woman in the office when he goes to ask if he's ever had a sick day, and he's talking to that old woman. She's just like classic like secretary typing away, not even looking at him. Like, I got a lot of shit to do today. Like, and she was like, oh, I read about you in the news, and I had a brush with death too. Horse almost trampled me to death, and I was waiting for it to be like, killed it with my bare hands. That's what he gets. Like,
but even the framing of that feels like a David Gibbons sort of
it's a one-shot
Watchmen kind of thing where they repeat the panel over and over, and then they just have the bubbles over it.
Right.
But very close together.
Very slick.
Tonight, a comedian died in New York.
They do the first flashback, and of course on the screen it's West Philadelphia, and obviously the first thing I was West Philadelphia, born and raised.
On the playground is where I spent most of my. I thought of
I
it
broke
too.
all my bones.
Oh my God, Will Smith!
Yeah, this is Will Smith's origin story.
Will Smith's origin story. I was a simple rapper, and then I became a movie star with idiotic children and a stupid wife. Scientology secretly.
Yeah.
Look at me.
The origin was so much better than the rest of my life.
Exactly.
Now this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down, and I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you how I became Mr. Glass. In West Philadelphia, born and raised, on the playground is where I spent most of my days. When a couple of guys who were up to no good, they called me Mr. Glass. I got in one little fight and my mom got scared and said,
They say this one has a surprise ending.
Looked at my kingdom, I was finally there to sit on my throne as Mr. Glass.
I love the first scene with Sam Jackson. I think it's one of his best scenes in the whole movie, of him dealing with that guy who is buying that fucking that one-shot cell for his like 4-year-old, which what are you talking about? That makes no sense that person would be buying that for their child. But like that whole like, once again, please, like,
oh yeah.
Do you see a small Asian child riding in a helicopter with a dazed look in his eye? Like, it's just a really well written. The dialogue is really good, and I love it. And I think that's his best scene in the whole movie.
Establishes
honestly.
what he's about.
Right.
Yeah,
No nonsense.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's a classic depiction of good versus evil. The thing to notice about this piece, the thing that makes it very, very special, is its realistic depiction of its figures.
When Bruce Willis is doing his bench press scene where he's lifting more and more weights, did anyone notice that his son is the one that keeps adding weights to it? How are you strong enough? How is he strong enough to put the weight on that bar?
Also that he never looks and goes, Joseph, no, that's
what are you
too
doing?
much.
That's
like,
too much.
Yeah.
The son is taping buckets to it, and he's like, how much weight is that?
About 350 pounds.
M. Night shows up in his cameo as a drug dealer, which doesn't make any sense because then he's searched and doesn't have any drugs on him. So what was that for?
Well, if I had to watch college football, I'd probably want to be high too.
Jesus Christ. In Pennsylvania, I'm watching a Penn State game. Give me a blunt.
Yeah. I also love there's the comic book shop scene where
He's
guy
banging into shit?
Yeah, he's banging into shit, and he's like, I hope you're not jacking off to the anime or whatever. For some reason, one of my favorite lines of that, he's like, listen, man, I got to close up. I got to get some chicken in me. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I think about that all the time. I'm like, I got to get some chicken in me. like why specifically chicken? Like, it's not like I'm like, I got to eat. I got to get some food in me. Like, I got to get some chicken in me. Nothing else.
You want another piece? Here, have a breast.
When he goes to the train station, and it happens throughout the whole movie, but the soundtrack that's playing, it gets a little Pure Moods for me. You know what I mean? It's got the like tubular bells.
And
Return to innocence.
That takes me back.
Imagine a world where time drifts slowly. A world where music carries you away. Experience pure moods, the perfect soundtrack for your way of life.
Did you see where there was Thor in the background? Yeah, there was a
Yeah,
Thor
there were
comic.
Thor comics, and I saw Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. comics as
Oh,
well.
damn, dog. We
So
get a-
obviously, Marvel allowed them to use their comics.
Right.
DC did not.
Did not.
Because they had to make up Sentry comics and like all this other shit. And you're
Right.
like, that's not a real comic. I know you made that up for the movie.
I feel like Glass is like the Joker in a lot of ways.
Sure.
When they talk about the criminally insane
Yeah.
and using that expression. And again, the Joker, as we've seen in film, is kind of grounded in reality, especially the most recent Joker.
Right.
So it feels
I mean, he
very-
doesn't really have powers either, the Joker.
No,
he's
he's
kind of weak when it comes to fighting, too.
Right.
Like, he's just sadistic.
He's just a wild
He's
card.
sadistic. Glass is just smart.
I feel like Mr. Glass is closer in line to like a Doctor Doom, which we still haven't seen a proper interpretation of ever.
Right.
But somebody who like is thinking a mile ahead of the game. I don't see the Joker as that. I never really did. I just think the Joker has horribly human impulses to do things that are otherwise like subversive or
Okay.
against nature or against the law because he can and thinks it's funny.
Right.
But like Mr. Glass represents a villain that we still have yet to see fully articulated in film.
Okay.
Aside from Mr. Glass himself.
This movie as a standalone, which, you know, for years it was, you
Yep.
know, like when I would think about this movie, I always think it's like an origin story for two characters we will never see again.
Right.
You know, like they set up the origin story and now it's like, but you don't need to see anymore.
Well,
Because
that was the hope.
That was the story. We
Yeah.
don't need any more after this.
Unique, cool. And I guess that brings us many years later, gentlemen, to Split.
The others told me that you and Patricia told the group about this beast. How this beast can crawl on walls like the best rock climbers, using the slightest friction and imperfections to hold his body close to seemingly sheer surfaces. How his skin is thick and tough like the hide of a rhinoceros.
Definitely not presented as a superhero movie until the last 5 minutes.
It's just a straight up thriller, like the mounting terror when she gets into the car and she looks in her side view mirror and then she looks again and she sees the food's on the ground.
Yeah, that's Anya Taylor-Joy, and I think that most of the world knows her nowadays from Queen's Gambit. She's the
Yes.
lead in Queen's Gambit,
Yes.
which is sensational. If you haven't seen Queen's Gambit, it's
I loved it.
fucking
I have not.
awesome.
It's
so
so
good.
She's got that thing that Samuel L. Jackson has where like the power and her direction is in her eyes.
Yeah,
And
good.
like there's a lot of that interplay with her
Good.
and all of the horde.
She holds a gun on her uncle. I think that's a mirror image of Unbreakable,
Yeah.
where he holds a gun on his father.
Right.
Right?
Well,
Or
with
that
different
same-
intentions, for
different
sure.
intentions,
yeah,
but the idea of a child holding a gun on an adult and there being that tension that
Right.
arises from that.
Right.
I'm your uncle. Stop it, Casey. Put that gun down.
No, I am your father, and I am telling you to put that goddamn gun down right now!
Early on, doesn't it feel like the girls are like a little too cool about being kidnapped?
When fucking, what's the character? Casey wakes up and they're like, do you know what happened to my dad? Like, how the fuck would she know what happened to your dad? She went with you. Like, she was taken with you, put in this fucking room. She just woke up. Like, do you know what happened to my dad? No.
For no particular reason, he's like, take off your shirt. Take off your pants. So the two girls are half naked through the movie for no
Yeah.
real reason.
Yeah. I was waiting for the girl to be like, oh, I knew it was going to go this way.
Yeah, but that's what you think would happen.
Right,
If
yeah.
a psycho kidnapped you and put you in a dungeon, you'd be like, well, I'm going to get fucking raped here.
Right, yeah.
So when
Tortured, at least, you know?
Seriously, that's what we expect.
Well,
That's,
that's what you
we,
think.
the moviegoer, think is going to happen.
That's what we want to happen.
yeah,
I mean,
of course. I mean,
I, for one, am just appalled.
when he first comes in as Patricia and he's in that dress and they're like, oh, there's a lady in there. Maybe she'll help us. And she comes in and their reaction is so fucking great because it's just, oh, fuck. He's completely bonkers.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
oh, my God. We have no idea what we're fucking dealing with.
That's
here.
why
Like,
the movie works, because at every turn up until the point where Bruce Willis shows up, you're like, what more is going to happen to these people?
Yeah.
Like, what's the other thing?
it's got a comedic value, but at
Yeah.
the same time, it's terrifying.
Oh, God. I'm so startled.
once he's established his characters, when you see him turn into them, you know exactly which character
Oh, yeah,
he is.
absolutely.
You're like, he's Dennis now, or
Yep.
he's Patricia now. You know, like,
because
you know
he does a little physicalization that goes along with each character,
Right.
whether it be the woman buttoning up the top of her shirt,
Right.
whether it be the wild physicality of the young boy of
Right.
Hedwig. You know, you see it.
And there is a costume change most of the time. Sometimes
Yep.
he has to do it quick, and they
but
don't.
it's minor. You know, it's not crazy.
It's a little weird at times where like he like has to turn into Dennis and he has to change real quick so he
Yeah.
can go after them. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, like, but I get this is early on and you're establishing these characters, so we'll recognize them later, basically.
Yeah, right. When he's turning into every personality like one after another, which is kind of what we're waiting for. That reminded me of Terminator 2 when he's in the lava and we
Yeah.
see every incarnation of everything that.
Now I'm the
fucking-
fat cop. Now I'm
that T-1000 was like he's out of control and going through every personality at
Right.
once. And I thought that was just it was cool.
like the
and it-
system's crashing.
Yeah,
Like-
and it was but that's an acting tour de force.
My name's Hedwig. I have red socks. Someone's coming for you. And you're not gonna like it. You guys make noises in your sleep.
I also think it's kind of interesting that he develops this beast personality later in life, and
Yeah.
it reminded me like other superheroes, but X-Men, like where
Okay.
they usually it was puberty or whatever sets
Right.
off their
Ah,
mutation.
very good, very
so it doesn't
good.
come till later in life until they've
Okay.
had this experience.
Okay.
So that was kind of interesting.
The mild cannibalism is jarring because it always feels like it's not followed through upon every time he goes to eat someone.
Yeah.
Because he's just taking a bite here,
Yeah.
bite there. It's like, did you eat before this? Come on.
I will say though, when he does the crawling on the wall, there's never like a practical purpose for him to be crawling on the wall.
No, he's just doing
It's always
it.
him
It's
just
a
like, I
show.
can crawl on the wall. Like, look at me. It's cool and all, and it's creepy when it happens, but there's no reason for you to do it.
When he's crawling the walls and sounding like Matt Foley from Saturday Night Live. We're pure down by the river. They're all asleep, but we're awake down by the river.
Well, I'm here to tell you that you're probably going to find out as you go out there that you're not going to amount to jack squat.
I have to say this. I have to use my catchphrase here.
Here it comes.
Get it, Betty Buckley. Get it, and get out. I don't know why you're fucking around in there. A woman is dead. Don't talk to him.
Yeah.
Get it and get out of there.
Yeah. You're never going to save these people if you don't
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah, you're an old lady. What do you think you're going to do? There's an open door to your left. Turn to the left, walk out the door, call the police.
Right.
He murdered someone.
Right.
I mean, what the fuck?
I mean, I don't think she understood how bad it was, but also at the same time, he had 23 personalities that she knew of. So, like, why even be alone
Yeah.
with them? Bring an armed escort. I don't know. Don't you know another big, strong guy that has one personality that you could take with you to the zoo?
Someone told me it's all happening at the zoo. I do believe it. I do believe it's true.
I think I really enjoy her storyline, the underlying thing about her previous abuse, because I think it kind of it turns like the horror movie convention of like the helpless girl who's like running. There's always the one who survives every time. And
Yes.
It's
Okay.
like it's never like they've gone through a terrible situation before this. This is like the
Okay.
first. So we're like it was interesting to see her like, oh, she seems to know what she's doing because she's dealt with monsters before in her life.
And it's not like she's a badass,
Right.
femme fatale. She's just a survivor.
Yeah, it's this idea that those who are abused are sort of stronger because of it.
And Kevin recognizes it. So when it adds a different level to it, I appreciate that.
Right, which to me, like, it kind of makes sense in the third movie when she's kind of like thinking about him and wanting to go back because, like, I think there is a kinship.
Your heart is pure. Rejoice.
The last thing I wanted to say about Split was that it felt really minor with respect to the budget. There wasn't a lot of grandeur that went along with it. It felt like a small movie. And that's not really a criticism so much as the fact that he took his small budget and did a lot with it, but it didn't feel like it went along with Unbreakable in terms of the scope and the bigness of this superhero trilogy.
Yeah.
It really felt like a different movie, a supernatural movie that he just tacked on as part of this story at the end.
Yeah.
But then, because it did so well financially, it led us to Glass.
I understand that the three of you think you are superhuman. That you don't think you are normal. You've convinced yourselves you have extraordinary gifts, like something out of a comic book. I am here to discuss the possibility that you are mistaken.
I like how in the beginning of Glass, the son is now his tech guy on the radio.
Yeah.
And the first villain that he takes down is doing a Superman punch on people. Did you get that? Superman punch?
They're playing the
Superman
fucking
punch.
knockout game. Guy just knocks out Rick Moranis right at the beginning.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
The script seems so self-referential in the whole, I'm gonna go Salt Bay on your ass. That means nothing.
What does that mean?
It means fucking nothing. And then Bruce Willis is like, what does that mean? He's like, it's a stupid internet thing. And it's like, but why did you put it in your fucking script?
Right. And it doesn't even make sense in context
No.
because Salt Bay is this,
Well,
right?
I mean,
Like,
which you can't see, listener, is that Scott is arching his arm to show what Salt Bay does with the salt. He sprinkles it on in an interesting way.
so he means he's just gonna attack him with a pinch of salt.
That's Salt Bay. He's the most important chef in the world.
They've decided to go with Bruce Willis with a full white beard.
He looks like George Carlin's last stand-up set and like he's clearly like looking a little weak.
He looks like the Gordon's fisherman.
Just a Gordon's fisherman.
And the cheerleaders feel very like jokey. Like they're all dressed the same way. Their same arm is handcuffed in the
Well,
same
they typically
place.
wear the same uniform. They're cheerleaders.
I know that's, but I just the visual.
That scene is so silly because the logic or the lack thereof. When David rescues them and they all gather around him, you see the beast coming. None of them run until he's like, "Leave!" And then
Why are you still here?
And then they run at the beast. And then he throws a fucking table at the one and knocks her out cold. And then they got to pick her up and just run the other way. And they're like, we're sorry about our friend. I'm sorry. We're going to leave.
I threw a table, caught the table,
Throw
threw the table back. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Table! Wake up! Grab Russian, put a little table! I discussed the fade away this table! Why'd you leave the keys up on the table? Here you go, create another table!
So then at this point in Glass, we get where it starts to really become a piece of shit. Sarah
Yeah.
Paulson shows up. Don't you care about the cheerleaders? If you knew that they were up there, why didn't you save the cheerleaders? Why is no one reacting to the fact that you just saw these two people tumble out of a fucking building? They obviously do have powers.
A 65-year-old man gets up, dusts himself off,
Yeah,
and is ready to
they
keep
fell
fighting.
from a building.
They went to such great lengths, I thought, in the first one and in Split to kind of explain how this could happen. And I feel like they took the time to really explain that and try to ground it in reality. And then this is just like, I'm an expert in superheroes.
Yeah.
Who, like,
Scott, she goes so far as to say, it's the center of my work. She's talking magician tricks and,
I hate it.
and rock climbing. What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
And
no, but like a really good magician, the best magician. Like, what the fuck are you
She's
saying?
like, people, rock climbers can just climb up the sides of buildings without, no, they can't just do that.
Yeah.
He was upside down, you idiot. He wasn't just rock climbing.
So, like, and what about bending the iron bars? He did that, right? Like, well, I did it too with a wrench.
With a wrench.
With a wrench? What are you talking about? She's like, oh, I would like you to allow us to give you an MRI, Bruce Willis, because you were in that train accident. It could have caused some damage to your frontal lobe. You don't think they check for that after the train accident? Like, they literally tell him, you don't have a scratch on you and you're completely fine. Like, I'm sure they did an MRI on him. Like, let's make sure nothing's broken. He's not, like, hemorrhaging in his brain.
Right.
Like, you were in a horrific train accident. Of course we're going to check that. And out of nowhere, we're making fucking Mr. Glass is like, he's this intellectual genius. And like, yeah, I get that he was smart in the first movie, but not to this level of like, I've planned the next 6 moves.
That's
like,
what doesn't make any sense. Mr. Glass doesn't have a superpower.
Right.
Every single mastermind from real other comics have another overriding power, no?
He's
You know
more
what?
like a Lex Luthor, I would say.
Right, okay.
Somebody who doesn't really have powers, but
Powers.
has ambition.
And meanwhile, all we want through the whole movie, we're like, this is called Glass. Can Samuel L. Jackson start talking again? Because he's
Oh
the
my
actor
God.
we care the most about.
I
When he
know.
starts talking, we're like, awesome.
Yeah.
But then he starts pontificating again about fucking comic books. He's like, oh, there in the comic books, there's people that are half beasts. It's like, will you shut up already?
Yeah.
Just, we're there
We
already.
understand the Beast Man concept already. We've got it.
Yeah.
Miss Patricia said that your bones can break if I like tap them. Is that true?
Yes.
So what's your superpower? Your mind?
Oh, also, Osaka Tower is described as a true marvel.
I have it written down right here.
Get out of here.
Yeah, it's a true marvel. So, all right, I appreciate that. If the movie was worth a shit, that would be a clever little
Yeah.
You know, fuck you. But since it's not worth the shit, it just makes you seem pathetic since every Marvel movie is better than this.
Yeah.
Ah, F you.
There's one of the characters, I think he's like a Southern character, one of the personalities that Kevin has.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, people say I talk a lot and I spoil movie endings, you know, like, but everybody knows. And then I forget what the example he gives. It gives away some ending to something. And I really thought he was going to give away the ending to The Sixth Sense. I'm like, see, that would have been a cute, like, in reference to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, but everyone knows Bruce Willis is dead since the beginning, like, and then just cut to the next thing. Like,
What's something we've all
Okay,
seen?
6 Feet Under. We can all talk about
not
that.
tell me.
Michael C. Hall in the van.
Spoiler
the body.
alert.
It's in the
Now we
body.
don't even have to watch
Kevin
it.
Spacey is Kaiser Soze. Luke's father is actually Darth Vader.
She's the sister and the daughter. They just kill off Dumbledore.
The character will die eventually, like Christopher on The Sopranos. He's dead? That's not a spoiler. Watch the first episode.
Did you guys see Sixth Sense?
He's dead? Shut up.
Nothing past season
Golden
2.
Girls.
Nothing past
Boy
season
Meets
5.
World.
Nothing past season 8.
Was that before or after Corey marries Topanga?
yeah, and why do all their sidekicks just show up together at the same time at the end? Were you called to come here?
It's weird.
Or-
With the exception of Casey, they've had 19 years to fully understand comic books. Why is he in a fucking comic shop?
Yeah.
Why is his mother trying to understand comic books? Why is she presenting information about Action Comics #1 to them as
really?
if this is a new concept?
Yeah, it's a limited edition. You shut up.
I think I remember something now. Because she's always putting on a voice to make herself sound older, too, and it just sounds ridiculous.
Why are
Like,
you palling around with this old woman who birthed a psychopath?
yeah.
I know what this is. This is the moment we are let in on the universe.
We finally get to the part of the end that we want to see, the big showdown, the big fight. And when they're fighting, I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Finally, we get to it.
Yeah.
And there's just more fucking exposition, more talking. And it's like,
There's just too much shit happening at once during this fight.
Fight, for God's sake.
It's like the end of episode 1 where they're having that sweet lightsaber battle, and they keep cutting in with this stupid fucking space battle with
Yes.
Anakin. Like, whoa, this is a fun trick. Whee!
exactly
Like,
right.
Show me the fucking fight I want to watch.
I hate
That's
so much.
exactly right, Scott.
And then these fucking visions of them showing like this secret society that apparently only meets in restaurants together.
Fancy restaurant
Where they all
international
sit around
restaurants.
and wait until everyone who's not in the society leaves, and then we can talk. Why didn't you just rent out the restaurant? Thank God they finally left. We've been here for 3 days waiting for us just to be us in this room. And then even the bartender is like, turns it. I'm like, the bartender's in on it too? It should be great in the middle of one of those meetings. Like, all right, good. Now we can start talking. So anyway, we found out about these superheroes, and then 2 people just walk in. Table for 2? Like, fuck.
Meet you anytime you want in our Italian restaurant.
And we figure out that like Elijah knew about this the entire time. Why didn't he mention it?
Yeah.
All he does through the other movies is talk about all of his opinions about comics. Why would he save this piece of information as a secret to the end?
Right.
You know, why not say, and in comic books, there's always some evil group that's been around for 1,000 years trying to suppress superheroes.
Yeah.
They found us.
And then this fucking ending, oh, it's Mr. Glass holding the mirror up to society, or like try to show off this
please.
fucking thing. And like, what did they achieve at the end? They're like, oh, yay, we took down the secret organization we all just learned about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Like, what is the achievement? My head's still fucking spinning from finding out this nonsense that you just threw at me at the end. Oh, there's always been this secret organization.
Yeah, and
they've
Mr.
been-
Glass is like, I have a purpose in life. It's like, you established that 2 movies ago.
Right.
You always had a purpose.
Yeah.
How is this a greater purpose? What?
I don't know. It seems like a...
I can expose viral videos to the world.
Again,
you
he
know
takes-
better than a fucking... Than
Yeah. Smash that like button.
If I get 10,000 views, it means I'm validated as a man.
Click the little bell to make sure you get all my new videos.
I hope that's been informative for you. Maybe you found out something you didn't know. My life's an open fucking book.
The emotional stakes of watching your own dad be killed by some jerk-offs in a suit, the pinch doesn't match the ouch, because the pinch was huge. The ouch should have been the same. Instead, I got some videos, I'm going to put them on the internet.
Yeah,
You know,
really.
like, that's not...
We did it. We took them down.
Like, took no one.
You
I
did
would at
nothing.
least hope that it's, he lifts
You
the
pressed
weights.
upload.
You know, just give us something. Give us Joe putting the paint cans on and lifting it up at the end or something.
Anything.
He's too smart. That's why he's the mastermind.
He'll never tell you his real plan. He sets everybody up, gets them looking in one direction.
So cool, man.
There's always a real plan.
All right, gentlemen, we have poured over these films.
Yes.
All right, and I think it'll be very easy. I sense we're all going to agree on the success and order of these films.
You want to say it all at the same time?
1, 2, 3. All
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
So, yeah, we're all going to say that this is 1, 2, 3, and I have to assume we're all going to say unsuccessful, right?
The third movie just had so much potential, and they blew it. So,
Yeah.
I guess I would say unsuccessful, but doesn't work as a trilogy.
As much as I absolutely...
Works better as two separate movies.
This is true. As much as I absolutely hate the third movie, I'm going to make a controversial decision. Because what I'm taking into consideration is artist's intent. He clearly intended to stick it up our ass and out of our mouths. So rather than give us the MCU, he set his creation on fire.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say it's a successful trilogy by M. Night Shyamalan's terms.
Right, but doesn't it seem like he didn't want to make this third
He
movie?
didn't,
Right,
and I don't know
but
why
he did.
I don't know why he bribed Disney and Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson and all these people into coming back to make this movie unless his intent was to set it all on fire.
And I think we always, as I always have to remind you guys and Scott, is that we have to judge on whether we enjoyed all three of these movies.
I didn't enjoy the third
I
one.
didn't enjoy the third movie.
No.
It didn't work for me.
See, because I always see the good in it, like where I'm like, there were
I know.
sections that I feel like this movie could have
But
worked
in
if they
terms
just
of
changed a little bit of the plot.
construct, though, if you look at the entire thing, it's a good movie, and one that I didn't enjoy. I can't call it successful.
Yeah.
All right.
Especially with this one, because the third movie does tie it in and truly make it a trilogy.
And exactly.
Yeah, I
It
gotta
wouldn't
say
have been so-
unsuccessful.
All right.
Frustrating.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. This has been the Trilogy Podcast. I am Vin.
And I'm Scott.
And
I'm Phil right now.
Joining us. Not getting hit in the eye with a boomerang.
No, none of
Not
that
being
shit.
attacked by various
Does
creatures.
the plastic surgery look okay?
You look a lot
it
better,
healed nicely.
Phil. All right.
Yeah.
As always, ladies and gentlemen, you can find us on Instagram. I put up at least one post every day that really tries to mimic what we talk about during this podcast. It's at Trilogy Podcast. We are climbing. We're close to 10,000 fucking people that are watching our shits, and we're loving it. And Scott?
And I run the Twitter. Check us out there. It's also at Trilogy Podcast. We do some fun polls about the movies. We ask what your favorite was. We ask a bunch of stupid, silly questions. So get involved and let your opinion be heard on this
All
nonsense.
right. And as we go out, I'd like to hear Phil pretend to be a bunch of different people while I chuck different things at him. Go.
All right. Hello, my name is Reginald, and I'm very hungry all the time. Ow! What is that?
Hey, I'm Fred. I drive the truck.
Ew.
Hey, come in my truck, kid.
Pretend to be a wrestler.
Hey, I'm gonna kick your ass this Friday at the Pontiac Silverdome
Oh,
in
God.
Washington, Kentucky. And then, you know, I'm gonna twist your arms.
Thanks for listening, folks. Have a great day.
Yeah,
bye, guys.
I don't know about you, but I got to get some chicken in me.